Hello guys, welcome back to Mallik 034 channel. This is Malik Arjun. In this today's session, I'm going to demonstrate about how to create a ACFS file system and then how you are going to mount that particular ACFS file system as a normal file system for your uh, placing your text file or word file or trace file or log file or executable file, how the normal traditional local file system, how it works, how you're going to mount your ACFS file system as a normal file system, and then you can use that ACFS file system for your day-to-day operation. So this is one of the most of you guys are requested topic. So to take some session on ACFS and give some illustration on that. So let's see what I'm going to show you here. Considering my two-node rack, this is going to be my server A and this is my server B. Let's take here. This is my server 1 and this is going to be my server 2. We know that server A my ASM1 will be running and in server 2 my ASM2 will be running, and then I have my uh, ORCL instance 1 is running on node 1, and similarly ORCL instance 2 is running on node 2, and these two instances are commonly accessing a disk group. So the disk group is again made up of multiple disks. So for example, I can say disk 1, disk 2, disk 3. So this all three disks together, I might have done my data disk group here. Typically, I can call it at the plus data. And similarly, I have something, some more disks here, 3, 4 disk. I can say whatever disk you have, how many disks you have it. And then by combining all this together, you are going to form your plus record disk group. So assuming that this is my D1 and this is my D2 and this is my D3, 3 disk, and here this is my disk 4 and this is my disk 5 and this is my disk 6 and this is my disk 7. Okay, assuming that these disks are like 100 GB each, 100 into 3, it's going to be like approximately 300 GB data here, this data disk group, and this is 100 GB into 4 become approximately like 400 GB disk group here. And then you are assuming that your database is just uh, uh, 50 GB here, 50 GB, and then out of this 300 GB you are just making use of 50 GB, and what about the remaining 250 GB data or 250 GB disk? It's kind of a waste and you're not going to making use of that. And then are you going to use this group to keep your some backup files or some log files or some trace files, and then whenever needed can you just retrieve it back, or like can I mount this particular data disk group inside here as a slash data and here slash data, or like something slash backup, or like something whatever, like for application file purpose, like you want to keep your application files here, or some of the application files are dumping their log files here. So can I use this particular disk group inside this server as a normal file system, so that I can do a copy, move, and then delete all those like human operations, right? The normal Linux operations, because whatever you do at disk group level, all your cp, move, rename, and delete, all those commands will not work. So can I mount, instead of this disk group, can I mount them as a local file system, and then I can make use of my other operation purpose, right? So that's what the need of our ACFS. Let's quickly jump onto my lab here. Grep smon. This is my ASM1 is running on node 1, and then ps-ef grep smon. This is my ASM2 or cluster node 2, which is running on my ora node 2. And then if I do df-h, I don't have any mount points here, like all are like these are temp and this is my root and this is my boot, and that's it. Like I don't have any of those mount points. So if I go here, if I connect to my uh, if I connect to my cluster where owner, that's my Oracle owner, and set it here .oraenv, sorry, .oraenv, and then if I set it to ASM2, asmcmd-p lsdg. If you see, right, I have 3 disk groups here. One is my ACFS disk group, data disk group, and record disk group. All these 3 disk groups, which has approximately my ACFS has 40 GB, and my data has 60 GB, and my record has again 40 GB. So I have this much of disk group here. So, but most of them are like free. Almost all like 61 GB, 40 GB, and 40 GB. Everything is free here. Even though all these groups are free, but I'm not going to use this particular disk group. This much of data is like I'm not going to use it here on this particular server. So this, if I mount this particular ACFS data and reco as a normal file system here, and then I can make use of this particular whatever the space available. Otherwise, this is kind of until my database grows, this kind of space is waste here. So that's where no, I'm going to create some this particular ACFS disk group, whatever like 40 GB I have it here. Out of that 40 GB, 10 GB I'll take it, and then I'll create 10 GB as a local file system, ACFS file system. I can mount that particular 10 GB out of this 40 GB, 10 GB I'll mount it as a local file system here. So how we are going to do that one? So we can do it using ACFS command line utility. So you can see, you can search for ACFS file system, and you can go through all the details, whatever I explained, what's the use case of ACFS, and why we need them. All those details you can find it out here. And this is supported the OS platform support matrix for your ACFS, and it's a master node. It has too much information. You can go through all of these details, which is supported, what feature and what version is supported with uh, what kind of what's compatibility version. Everything you can check it out from this particular master document. Right. So what I'm doing it now, I can directly jump into my lab. I can start implementing my ACFS file system. So first and foremost, what I need to do, uh, I need to check it out. I already told you, like, this is my 19C environment, 2 node rack. You can simply do OLS nodes. You can see ora node 1, ora node 2. These are my cluster nodes, and ASM1 is running on node 1 and ASM2 is running on node 2. Right. So that's my environment detail. And then just quickly verify whether like ACFS modules are installed or not. You can do ls mod grep ora. You can see your ACFS and ADVM or your ACFS modules. You can verify the same thing on node 2. You can see ACFS and ADVM all are like available here. And then quickly connect to your our ASM instance dot oraenv plus asm1 is I'll just connect SQL plus slash as this DBA. Right, and then I can quickly check all my disk group status, whatever disks. Okay, I have, as I showed you just now here, I have my ACFS disk group, which is a 40 GB, and I have data 1, data 2, data 3, 3 disk, 20 GB each, forms my 60 GB of data disk group, because you can see this group ID 222. All these 3 disks belongs to my data disk group. And then my record disk group, record 1 and record 2, which is part of my disk group 3. 20 GB makes my 40 GB record disk group, and this 20 3 disk makes my data disk group, and this ACFS of 40 GB disk alone makes my ACFS disk group. So if I go here, that's what I showed you here. ACFS disk group, data disk group, record disk group, each will be having like 40 GB, 60 GB, and 40 GB. And then each has its own disk group name, disk group number 1, 2, and 3. Right, so that's about the disk. And now what we can do, we can query compatibility parameter for each of these disks. We can see compatibility ASM, RDBMS, ASM, RDBMS, ASM, RDBMS. You can see all of them. And then what we can do now, I can directly check my, I'll just exit, and then I can check my disk group status, which is mounted on both the nodes or not. You can see node 1 and node 2, ora node 1, ora node 2. My ACFS disk group, DG stands for disk group. It's mounted on both the nodes. That's well and good. Now what we can do, quickly I can go ahead and create my 10 GB, my 10 GB ACFS ASMCMD create volume. That's volume create. That is ACFSDG. I'm gonna do 10 GB as a ACFS test one. I'll just exit here. I'm gonna run this one. Right, so it will take some time. So out of this ACFS disk group, so 10 GB you are creating as a volume, and then you are gonna mount it as a local file, right? So it got created here now. That's great, and you can get that one using ASMCMD volume info -g ACFSDG, and then your whatever the disk volume you created, right? ACFS test one, and this is your device volume device, and status is enabled. It's a 10 GB, and yeah, this is a details about that particular volume whatever you created. Right, then come back and you can do crsctl stat. You can run crsctl stat resource -t grep ADVM, and you can see your ACFS disk group ACFS underscore test one dot ADVM advanced dynamic volume manager on proxy underscore ADVM. So, and then you can verify using test one ADVM. Right, so crsctl stat resource ora.ACFSDG.ACFS underscore test one dot ADVM -t. Your ACFS volume, advanced dynamic volume, is online on both the nodes and it's stable. And now you can whatever this volume you created here, you can format it, or you can just do fdisk. I'll do fdisk -l. So that's going to give you more information about this particular volume, right? Fdisk -l. So that's a volume what you created. And then this is going to be 10 GB, and these are the sectors, and then IO, like all those information about volume. So you can run the same fdisk command from your node 2 as well. Right, so fdisk, so you are going to get the same thing on the second node as well. So you can run the same crsctl stat on the other node. You're going to get the same information, and you can run this volume info from node 2. You're going to get the same information, right? Right, so that's a verification of after successful creation of the new volume. Now on top of this particular volume whatever you created, so you are going to create a ACFS file system. So format that ACFS file system. You have to use mkfs make file system -t. The file system is going to be your ACFS file system. So you have to use this keyword ACFS on top of this particular volume whatever you created. Right, so you can see mkfs ACFS version 19. This on disk version, and this is your volume, and this is your size, and then format complete. So you should get this particular message here. And then once your volume is ready, you're gonna mount it. You're gonna register that one, and then you're gonna mount it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create one directory mkdir -p / ACFS underscore test one. So let me create with the root user node 1, and similarly I'll do it on the node 2 as well. Right, so once you created, and you can change that to ownership. I'm going to change it to test 1. I'm going to change that ownership to Oracle, because Oracle is a grid owner and who's going to mount it on that. Now I'm going to register that with my Oracle owner. So the command for registration is sbin acfsutil register -a, and your volume. This is your volume, and then you are gonna mount it on your ACFS underscore test one hyphen u, and Oracle is the owner for that. So I'm just gonna run this one here. Right, it's going to take a few seconds. Right, so you can see ACFSUtil registry mount point for this particular mount point successfully added to your Oracle registry. So that's very important. Once you add that one, and you can run that crsctl stat whatever that ACFSDG, whatever you ran it, like you can run it with the same command, like whatever you ran crsctl stat resource -t grep ACFSDG. So earlier when you ran ACFSDG, you are not, you are seeing only this particular ADVM. Now you are seeing ACFS disk group test one and your disk group and your ACFS file system. This is your ACFS file system, and this is your dynamic value manager, and this is your disk group. Right now you got it, all of them, and now you can verify your this particular ACFS file system whether it is mounted on both the nodes or not. Like you simply do crsctl stat resource -t ora, and this is a resource. I'm just gonna put that one, and ACFS.t. You can see online. This is a ACFS file. Is .ACFS stands for your ACFS file system. .ADVM stands for your advanced dynamic value manager, and .dg stands for your disk group. So with your ACFS file system is online on node 1, online on node 2, and mounted on this particular ACFS test 1 and ACFS test 1 on both the nodes. Right, and now you can simply do df-s df.h, and then this is the mount point. Right, you can see 10 GB, which is mounted here. If I do df-h, and then you can see this is the mount point. You can see this is coming from dev ASM ACFS volume, and this is of 10 GB, which is coming from actual disk group. So if I go on node 2 and if I do df-h, you can see this is also coming from your disk group. So now this is one of the use case, and now what I'll do, I can log into Oracle user, and I can go inside this particular file system here, and if I do touch one.txt or mallik.txt, I'm able to create a file here. And if I exit, and let's see if I have any other user here. Yeah, I have Mallik user here. Let's log in with Mallik user. Right, so right now I logged in with the Mallik user, do df-h, and you can see this is a ACFS file. Go inside that, do ll, and one.txt is here, and do touch 2.txt, and permission denied. So only that Mallik is the Oracle is the owner who has granted access, and then only that is able to do all the operations. Yeah, so that's a one thing you need to notify. And then now we know, like, we are able to mount and we're able to do anything on that. And there are some more commands which is handy. You can always use them for when we're operating our ACFS file system. The commands are like srvctl status, srvctl status file system -d, and then your ACFS volume, whatever that volume name you have it here. You can srvctl status file system -d, and you can run that particular volume name. You can see your ACFS file system is mounted on node 1 and node 2. That's a srvctl command. Also, you can operate it for your ACFS volume group level. And other thing is, you can see srvctl config file system. Just simply you can see srvctl config file system. So that will give you all the configured file systems. So you can see this is a volume group, and this is a volume name, and this is a disk group coming from, and this is a volume device, and then this is the mount point, and this is the owner. You can see all those options or configuration of that one. And then there's a one more sbin utility registry -l, whether that registration is done or not. You can see ACFSUtil, sbin ACFSUtil registry -l, that will give you that registration option. Whatever that whoever registration is done, device is this is your volume, and mount point is this is your local mount point, and options are none. So that's a registration information. You can see it here. And again, there's a asmcmd. uh, you can see, you can verify that volume info already. I showed you that -g, that's your disk group, ASM ACFSDG, and ACFS file system, ACFS test1. So this is your volume group information. So that's a volume group information. You can get it out. Right. So I'll connect to Oracle and try this same command, plus ASM1, sorry, plus ASM1. Right. So you can run the same command. Right. So this is your volume group information. And then in case suppose like if you do df-h, so this is your mount point, unmount, sorry, umount. Operation is not permitted, so I just log out and then I'll unmount using root user. Right, so it's done now. So your mount point is gone now. On node 1, your mount point is gone. On node 2, still you have that mount point here. You can see. And then in order to mount that one, you can do just normal file system used to do mount -a, and then it used to mount all your mount point. If you see here mount -a, so it's not going to mount your ACFS file system, because ACFS file system is not a normal mount point. Use that mount command to mount it. You have to use mount -t and ACFS, mount -t ACFS. So you have to use this mount -t ACFS and then do df-h. Still it's not coming. There's other command. You can try it out. I'm going to show you. Give me a second. Ideally, like mount -t and then do ACFS. It should give you that whatever the mount option of that particular ACFS has it. Like I'll log in with my Oracle user now, and then if I do .oraenv plus ASM1, and now you can run the same mount -t ACFS, and you can see all the mount option of your ACFS file system, whatever that particular your ACFS file system supposed to have. Right now, on node 1 you lost it. On node 2 it is still mounted, and now you can verify the same command, whatever you ran it here. This particular command. Right, you can see admin is unmounted, and on node 2 still you have that mount. On node 1 it's become offline, and then this is the one way, like what I showed you, like directly use unmount and then unmount your file system. Or if you don't want to do that one, you can do umount, and I'm on node 2, I'm going to unmount it. Rather than this one, I'm going to use this volume information, umount, and then your volume information. So permission denied, again log out, and then you can do umount, that volume, done. So you can do df-h here, done. So in on node 2 also you unmounted, and the same you can run the same query again here. You can see here admin is unmounted, and here uh, mounted, but you can see here it is you remove that volume information. So still it is mounted on your cluster level. You can see on node 2 it still says it is mounted, but when you unmount it forcefully using umount and then that volume group, you will see this admin is unmounted. Otherwise, okay, your this status is now become admin is unmounted. So the point here is you can unmount using this particular mount point, or you can unmount using this particular whatever that volume name. So now you unmounted, then how you are gonna mount them back? There's a tricky point here. As I said, like ideally normal file system, with the moment you do mount -a, and then all the mount point will come up here, and then that will come up because of it will read your etc file, and whatever the mount point you mentioned on your etc file, everything will be mounted. But since this is your cluster file system, and which will not be that easy, you can mount command will work here. So you have to use your cluster registry. So for that, I will log out with the root user, log in with the root user, I can verify one more time registry, ACFSUtil registry, and then I'm going to use srvctl start file system, srvctl start file system, and then -d, and I'm gonna mention that volume name, whatever the volume name I had it here. This is my volume name. This is start. Before start, I'm gonna check the status. What's the status here? Right. So you can see this is srvctl status. It is not mounted. You can see SFS file system, SFS underscore test1 is not mounted. And now I'm gonna, instead of status, I'm gonna start it now. Start file system -d and then that volume name. And then the moment started, now you can check the status. It says it should be mounted on both, like it's mounted on node 1 and node 2, and you can verify this particular command here now. And you can see it's online and mounted on both nodes. Now you can do df-h here, and you can see you got your ACFS file system here. And if I go to node 2 and check it out, and node 2 also, I got it here. Right, so you have to use srvctl stop and srvctl start command in order to mount and unmount. Like unmount, you can directly do unmount this mount point name or unmount this volume, or even you can use your srvctl stop and then that file system, and then that's going to unmount for you. So that's also works for you. And yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover it in this today's session. Just to recap what I did it, I had a disk group. Let me go back here. I had a disk group ACFS DG. Okay, let's quickly connect back to my ASM and check the space now. Dot .oinv plus ASM2 asmcmd -p lsdg. Right, you can see this is the ACFS disk group, and you can see now usable file is 30 GB. Earlier it was 40 GB. Now usable size is, like you can see, total disk size was 40 GB, and now it's free is only 30 GB. What happened that 10 GB? 10 GB you taken and mounted it as a normal file system. I'll go back to my explanation here. And this was the disk group, which is of 300 GB. My database size is of just 50 GB. What happened to the, what about the 250 GB? Am I gonna waste that 250 GB space? That was a question. And then rather than, my database growth is very small, and then in next 1 year 2 year I can use only, I can consume only 10 GB or 20 GB data. So rather than wasting the 250 GB data, I can just take a 50 GB or 100 GB from that disk group. I can mount it as a normal mount point, and I can use this particular mount point for storing my text file, Word document, PDF or image file or executable file, or anything related to my application file. Everything I'm gonna store it here on this particular ACFS file system. Right, so that's a use case of my ACFS file system. Whatever the disk group you have the data, you just take some portion of the data and then you can mount it as a normal mount point, and then that mount point will act as a normal OS mount point, and you can do CP, and you can do, I can do like move 1.txt, I can make it 2.txt, whatever, like normal operation command, everything will works as is like your OS file system. Right, so that's pretty much about ACFS file system and its use cases. And that's for today's session. Let's hope for new session. I'll come up with a new topic. Until then, take care. Bye bye. Thank you, guys.